Throughout the decades, video games have made their way into the mainstream media. In the more recent years, video games have been improving content by diversifying to appeal and represent players of all kinds, whether they're representing people of color, people of the LGBT community, and etc. However, there is one thing that has not been improved upon, and it rhymes with hypersexualization of email characters. Yes, you guessed it. It's the hypersexualization of female characters, specifically in video games. Way too many women in video games have extremely impractical and revealing clothing, unrealistic and disproportionate bodies, as well as extremely sexual attitudes. We can look at this subject in two different perspectives or lenses: the feminist perspective and the cultural perspective. When looking at a woman's outfit in a video game, especially a game that includes combat, one would definitely wonder about the practicality of said outfits, especially when most of said outfits are skin tight latex or look as if breasts could pop out at any moment. How does this image affect women and how they're viewed? Well, the article, Misleading Characters: The Hypersexualization of Females in Video Games, by Noel Haslam, contains many studies on how the sexualization of these female characters affect the women who play them. One of the studies, by Bartlett, says, the results of the current study suggests that women participants, after playing a video game that emphasized the female body, felt significantly worse about their body. Okay, so not only does it lead to unrealistic standards, it makes women feel bad about their own bodies. This is especially damaging to younger audiences, seeing that most teens already feel insecure about their body image. Seeing that another one of the studies in the same article by MediaSmarts says digital media such as the internet and video games have become increasingly important in the lives of children and youth. Meaning, video games could and would also increasingly affect their views of themselves negatively. Running off of that, another article called Video Games Still Overly Sexualize Female Characters Study Finds by Joe Otterson contains a study by an Indiana professor, Teresa Lynch, that analyzed the sexualization of women in games. The study found, and I quote, hypersexualized depictions of women, including enlarged breasts and narrow waists, was most prevalent in fighting games like Mortal Kombat, as well as games rated teen and above. These games are without a doubt directed towards straight teen and young adult males. By presenting these audiences with impractical standards of women, it makes them apply such standards into real world, creating unachievable beauty standards and more objectification towards women. The same article continues with Lynch's study, saying, in addition, it found hypersexualization of female characters has declined since 1995, but women in games are still objectified more than male characters, and are often seen as secondary characters. Seeing that video game culture has been directed towards male audiences for a long time, the industry only began in the recent decade to try and strive towards appealing towards female audiences by slowly trying to include them. Despite trying to lead towards depicting women better, much of the gaming industry is struggling to correctly represent realistic-looking female characters. In the article, Study Tracks 31-Year History of Female Sexualization in Video Games by Laura Strum, there is a continuation of the same study by Lynch, saying, the study argues that hypersexualizing women in gaming has contributed to diminishing participation of women in the industry. Just 22% of game store employees are women, and Though 47% of gamers are female, those women aren't playing games with hypersexualized representations of themselves. Even with almost half the gaming community being women, so much game content is there to appeal to the male gaze or interest. This is leading to less women wanting to be a part of the gaming community, making it harder to improve itself. Despite the many female characters that are still hypersexualized, there are still some representations of women in games that are anatomically sound and are not sexualized at all. However, this doesn't defeat the fact that we still have to lessen the sexualized characters that are being made. There is still a lot to be done to improve the gaming industry.